I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. Out here in the tractor shed, I'm kind of thinking through how I'm going to do a project. I work with scrap material. Scrap material doesn't have a size or a dimension that's going to be consistent. You know, like out here in the tractor shed, well, tractor tent, tractor, whatever. Harbor Freight garage. I modified it a few times over the years. Had to add things to it to make it stronger, better, survive a few storms. But now I want to do something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I want to build a workbench in the end. And the workbench is going to be for putting things on to work on it. Like when I want to do something on the tractor, I don't have to set it on top of the seat and try and reach around. I want to have a place where I can walk over, set it down, take it apart, clean it, put it back together, and put it back on. Also, there's a lot of tractor things that need to be in storage, and the best place for them is close to the tractor because, you know, tractor chains up in the little lawnmower barn are kind of out of the way. Of course, there are other chains there, so that seemed to make sense at the time, and I didn't have this shed when I put it there. So I want to make this into a tractor shed so that I can do tractor work in here and get rid of some of the junk that's... The tractor shed kept it dry, which was the whole point of the thing. It kept it out of the weather so that the wood didn't rot and the iron didn't rust and the plastic stuff didn't decay in the sunlight. So, having said all that, I want to build a workbench. And I want to use the stuff that I have. I don't want to buy anything for it. So it's going to be a kind of a make-do as it works. These have been sitting in the shed now for, I don't know, a couple of years anyways. And I want to use those as the supporting members for the workbench because I'm going to be putting some really heavy stuff on this. And I want to make it strong enough to be able to survive doing that. First thing I want to do is build a foundation, so that's what this big piece of oak pallet wood is going to do. I'm going to put that across there as a bridge to go from one side to the other so that I can build a workbench on top of it. It's going to be interesting to see how it turns out, and honestly I don't know at this point. Depends on what falls in the door, falls out the truck on the way by, or, you know, that's how scrap works. So, first thing I want to do, I've got this marked out to go and bridge across between the two base rails that I put in as a foundation for the shed. That way I can bolt the pieces down to something solid. They're anchored in place with fence posts that I drove in about 3 foot and then welded bars across the top of them and bolted them to the 4x4s. Some on the inside, some on the outside, so that it's got plenty of strength. And I fastened it together with short chunks of 2x4 to make sure it was long enough to do what I needed to do. Tied the whole thing together and it seems to be working. It's held up now for about 3 years. Considering this whole thing flipped over, see that hole in the corner? That's where that landed on top of the fence on the other side of that wall. The whole shed flipped upside down and ended up on the other side of the fence. Really screwed things up. Managed to put it back together again, and now we're working towards making it even better yet. So I'm going to try and cut this thing with this little Milwaukee saw. We'll see how it goes. One thing that I'm running into, I'm working with battery operated equipment. Battery operated equipment is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Except the batteries go dead. So we'll have to see how well I do. And nail sticking out. Yeah, I admit it's not the neatest or nicest or best, but it's going to work. Bend over these nails so they're not whacking into me all the time. Now, I could pull them out, except if you look, this board is split right down the middle. That's why it's a piece of pallet wood. Since this is just going to be the base, so I can put some cross members on it, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to work. Okay, well, that's cut. Need to drill some holes. I'm going to be fastening these down with these lag bolts. They seem to work pretty well, and they're long enough to go through and catch a hold of the board under the bottom. So I have to drill some pilot holes. I was afraid of that. Batteries. They go dead on you. This project might die stillborn. Let's see how we do. This native oak, which makes great pallets. It's strong, it holds up well, but it is hard as a brick. Drilling through it is a job. okay. Now I have to go charge batteries. That's going to take an hour or two. What can I do in the meantime? I can move some stuff around. So I'm going to go put these batteries on the charger. Nice thing about having junk tools, you end up with a lot of battery chargers. So I can charge multiple batteries at the same time. Unfortunately, most of the batteries that I have are junk. So these two hold up well, and the rest of them kind of catch as catch can. So bear with me, I'll be back. Having battery operated equipment is nice. Means that I can go up on top of the ladder without dragging cords and doing all kinds of other stuff. But once the battery runs dead, and unless you have an unlimited supply of batteries, they do run dead. You end up with a nice little drill with no power. So being able to use an extension cord, pull power out here to the shed, means I can run this drill motor, which will, as long as there's power in the house, this thing will turn. And it also has about 3 times the pulling power that the battery operated one does. So it's not going to stall out drilling this hole. It's just going to go on. Like so. Now the plan was to use these angle brackets to fasten these boards down. That way I can, because the frame actually sits outside of the frame of the tent, I could put this one here, but because this one is underneath this sidebar and held in place by an angle bracket in the corner, if I try and attach this 4x4 on top of the other 4x4, I'm going to end up with a thing that just won't support itself. So I want to attach it to this face here. I want to attach another one to this face here and do the same thing in the middle and on the back side. That way I'll have 4 legs underneath the workbench. Take some of this particle board or some of that plywood, either one, because they're both available, and put a deck over there so I can take that big orange rack and set it here in the back corner instead of up by the front door. Being up by the front door, it takes up a lot of room and makes it so that everything is restricted coming in and out. That was just something I set up quickly to get it done. I found that alongside the road, brought it out here, set it in the shed, and it's been piled up ever since. So I want to move it down here to this end of the shed so that it's back safe and secure, also out of the way. Because trying to walk by the tractor, with the tractor in the opening there's just enough room to squeeze by the tire and that rack. I need that extra 18 inches of space in there just to be able to walk in and out and do things. Okay. This rack is 36 inches wide, about 3 feet, and it is 16 inches deep. It's about 1.25 feet. Changed my thinking. I'm not going to set it this way. I'm going to put it up this way. I don't need a bench that big. And if I set it up this way, I can drop this back and end up with a bench about 2 foot wide, 2 foot deep. 2 foot is a good reaching distance. You get much longer than that, you have to crawl over stuff to get to the back of the bench. I want the front of this beam to be 2 feet away from the front of that beam. There. Perfect. That's the base of where we're going. Now, I'm going to set how high up do I want to have that bench. About 32 inches. That's 32 inches from the ground. Just about belt buckle height. And this one .24. One issue with this drill motor, it has to spin down, it doesn't stop. The battery operated ones have a braking mechanism, and this thing doesn't. That's solid. Nothing like watching yourself work to find out just exactly what you did wrong. The work that I did for the next 2 hours of video, I'm going to have to go out and tear out because I can see that there's a mistake. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching.
This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union without the express written permission of the parents or the legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.